On a quiet night, when a moon hangs full and bright in the sky, imagine this. A man locks himself indoors, chains his doors, prays for morning, and still by dawn, blood is found on the ground. For thousands of years, people believed this was not madness. They believed it was the moon, and they believed it turned men into wolves. For most of human history, the full moon was not something to admire. It was something to survive. Today, we see the moon as distant, harmless, even beautiful. But for ancient civilizations, the moon was powerful, unpredictable, and deeply feared. It governed the tides, marked time, controlled harvests, and ruled the night. More importantly, it was believed to influence the human mind. Long before science, psychology, or modern medicine, people noticed something unsettling. Behavior changed under moonlight. Sleep was disrupted. Emotions intensified. Violence seemed more common. Animals behaved differently. Wolves howled more frequently. The night felt alive and dangerous. From these observations, a terrifying belief was born. The full moon did not merely illuminate the darkness. It awakened it. The connection between the moon and madness is ancient. In Roman times, mental instability was often blamed on lunar influence. The Latin word luna gave rise to the term lunatic, describing someone whose behavior was believed to fluctuate with the moon's phases. This was not poetry or metaphor. It was accepted medical theory. Doctors, philosophers, and judges believed the moon affected bodily fluids, especially blood. When a moon was full, blood was thought to rise, heat up, and overwhelm reason. Under this belief system, rage, hallucinations, and violent impulses were not personal failings. They were lunar symptoms. Now place this belief into a world already afraid of wolves. Wolves were the most feared predators of the ancient and medieval world. They hunted at night, moved silently, and attacked livestock and travelers without warning. They were intelligent, social, and relentless. To early societies, wolves represented the wild, everything uncontrolled and hostile to human order. It was only a matter of time before these two fears merged. If the moon could influence the mind, and wolves were empowered by the night, then a man who lost control under moonlight must in some way become a wolf. This is where the werewolf truly begins, not as fantasy, but as explanation. Across Europe, Asia, and parts of Africa, historical records describe men who claimed to transform during full moons. These accounts were not written as legends. They appeared in court documents, medical writings, church records, and personal testimonies. The descriptions were disturbingly consistent. As the full moon approached, affected individuals reported agitation, insomnia, and intense restlessness. Many described a pressure in the skull, a burning sensation beneath the skin, or an overwhelming urge to isolate themselves. Some locked themselves away. Others fled into forests or fields, believing distance would protect others from what they might become. According to testimony, the transformation was painful. Muscles tightened and convulsed. The spine felt as though it were bending unnaturally. Hands cramped and twisted. Teeth ached. Skin felt too tight, as though something beneath it was trying to break free. Hair growth was often described as sudden and excessive, particularly on the face and limbs. Whether these sensations were physical, psychological, or psychosomatic did not matter. To those experiencing them, they were real. Once transformed, the werewolf was believed to possess abilities beyond human limits. Strength increased. Endurance became unnatural. Fear vanished. The creature could run for hours, see in darkness, and kill with efficiency. Most terrifying of all, many believed the werewolf retained human awareness while surrendering to animal instinct. It was not a mindless beast. It was a man who knew exactly what he was doing and could not stop. The full moon was always present in these accounts. It was not optional. It was the trigger. Livestock deaths reinforced the belief. Farmers noticed that attacks clustered around full moons. Sheep were found torn apart. Cattle were mutilated. When this happened repeatedly, suspicion hardened into certainty. Human deaths escalated the terror. Bodies discovered near forests or roads often showed severe injuries. Limbs were damaged. Flesh was torn. In an era without forensic science, communities relied on pattern recognition. When deaths aligned with lunar cycles, the conclusion felt obvious. Someone among them was changing. During the 16th and 17th centuries, Europe experienced waves of werewolf trials, similar to witch trials. Many accused individuals confessed, sometimes under torture, sometimes voluntarily, that they transformed during full moons. These confessions were not questioned. They were documented as proof. Judges believed the moon activated the curse, just as fire activates heat. Church authorities taught that the devil used the moon as a tool, weakening spiritual defenses and allowing evil to emerge. Physicians supported the idea, claiming lunar influence worsened madness and aggression. Even treatments were shaped by the moon. Bloodletting was timed according to lunar phases. Medical procedures were delayed or rushed based on the position of the moon. The boundary between medicine, religion, and superstition did not exist. Fear governed all of it. What made the full moon especially powerful was its predictability. It arrived every month. It could be watched, anticipated, feared in advance. This created psychological tension that built over days, even weeks. People expected something bad to happen, so they saw it. Men who were already isolated, mentally ill, aggressive, or socially different became targets. If such a man disappeared at night and returned injured, the community had its answer. The moon had revealed him. Outside Europe, similar beliefs emerged independently. In African folklore, shape-shifting predators were often tied to lunar power. In parts of Asia, the moon was believed to weaken the boundary between human and animal spirits. In Native American traditions, celestial events marked moments of transformation and danger. These cultures did not share stories. They shared fear. The full moon became a symbol of loss of control, of the fragile boundary between civilization and instinct. It represented the uncomfortable truth that humans are not as distant from animals as they wish to believe. Even today, echoes of this fear remain. Emergency rooms still report perceived increases in activity during full moons. Sleep disruption is real. Anxiety increases. The night feels different. Science debates whether the moon causes these changes, but psychology explains why people believe it does. Expectation shapes perception. For centuries, the werewolf myth gave structure to chaos. It transformed unexplained violence into narrative. It externalized guilt. It allowed societies to believe that evil came from outside the human soul, triggered by the moon, rather than from within. The tragedy is that this belief destroyed lives. People were imprisoned, tortured, and executed because communities feared what the moon might do to them. Families were torn apart. Confessions were forced. Fear replaced understanding. The full moon never changed. Human knowledge did. What people once blamed on lunar magic, we now recognize as mental illness, neurological conditions, trauma, and psychological stress. But the fear itself was real, and its impact was real. For thousands of years, when the full moon rose, people locked their doors, whispered prayers, and watched their neighbors closely, because they believed that under that pale light, men could become wolves. And once that belief takes hold, the night is never just a night again. For thousands of years, humans have looked at the full moon and feared what it might awaken, not in the world around them, but within themselves. The werewolf was never just a beast. It was a reflection of the darkness that lives in all of us. The anger, the hunger, the impulse we cannot always control. And yet, the moon rose again and again, reminding them that fear is eternal and that some stories never die. The full moon still rises tonight. And when it does, you may feel a chill, a pause, a question in the back of your mind. What happens when the beast inside awakens? History may have given us answers, but it also gave us a warning. If this story stirred something inside you, if the shadows of history haunt your thoughts, then you belong here. Subscribe to Dew of Dread, where ancient fears, forgotten legends, and historical nightmares are brought back to life. Comment below and tell us, do you think the werewolves were real, or is the true monster always human?